Andrew, welcome.
Thanks, Mark.
Usually I say welcome to Crichton Properties.
Yes.
But we're somewhere else. But welcome from Crichton Properties.
Yes.
To Business Insider.
Mm-hmm.
The opportunity is to talk with business leaders about their process and their strategies that are helping them move forward, and that's what we wanted to talk about today.
Great. Mm-hmm.
Specifically, let's look back 19 years in the business.
Mm-hmm.
If we look back and say, okay, give us some founding strategies, give us some idea of the focus and where you came from and what you hold dear in terms of the values.
Okay.
Of Crichton's.
We'll probably go back a bit from the start. I suppose we've had a strategy of being pretty conservative from a debt point of view, which is for a property development company. A lot of them have gone very high debt.
Well, you're still here.
We are still here after, well, the company's been 25 years, so myself for 19, so yes, we are. I mean, I think the last few years has seen some changes in the property industry and a lot of downsizing, a lot of people thinking about their sort of overall business mix and how they fund their business as well. And that's, I think it's most property developers are in that same case. But I suppose going back to the beginning, keeping a very conservative debt to asset ratio, and being able to service your debt. I mean, that's the end of the day. You can have a small amount of debt or a large amount, but if your sales and your pipeline's not there to service that debt, you can fall short of the mark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Now have you focused on residential, or is there other parts to your portfolio?
We've dabbled in a little bit of commercial. I suppose we've realised after doing that our focus is residential. Our core business is.
Was that expensive?
No, it wasn't. It was quite. It was probably a bit more frustrating as far as a time point of view. Looking at managing retail centres, etc. That's a very time-consuming business. It's not something, unless you've got a huge number of them, in my opinion, that you can probably get the economies of scale you need. So with one or two centres, it's actually quite a labour-intensive and cost-intensive business. We moved out of that space and have focused literally on residential real estate. Is what we're about. We're about housing people in quality residential communities. That's what we do. We've expanded in the last 10 years into the retirement village business, which is aged care, effectively self-care accommodation on freestanding independent houses. That's really what we build. So it's been still housing people, but we've moved just from straight residential land, which we've been doing for years, into the sort of more built form retirement housing as well.
Okay. Yeah. And the model that you work to is that has presumably refined over 25 years.
Yes. Yep.
Some of the high points and low points of that model. What do you like and what do you dislike?
I think our philosophy from the start has been you produce the best possible product you can in the space that you're in, and you don't ever give up on that. If you create an estate, as an example, with building covenants such as brick homes, tile roofs, whatever your covenants are of the day and the architectural style, if you start off on that path and you're developing, say, 200 or 300 sites in a particular development, you can't let your guard down halfway through if it gets tough, because I suppose the respect you get from the people who buy from you over the years is about you maintaining quality and you pushing that quality and guaranteeing that quality all the way through. What that does has a twofold effect. One, the people who you've bought off you over the years respect you and come back and buy again. But two, what it does is it creates value and it creates capital growth. And as a developer with generally large sort of sites, we're sort of generally 300 sites plus in most of our developments in the residential space. By increasing the value for the people who've bought off you and they encourage them to build nice homes, etc., your own unsold stock is increasing in value as well. Yeah. So our business is about equity growth. We take the sites from a farm through to a completed product effectively. So our uplift in value and the growth of the company has been about increasing equity through rezoning and approvals. That's one of the specialties of our business.
Right. Okay.
Especially on the Central Coast, it's been reasonably hard over a number of years with approvals. So that's been the focus of the business, is really equity growth and then profit through sales and feeding that land bank with sales from what you're actually producing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're still here.
Mm-hmm.
25 years later, you have survived the impact of the GFC.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yep.
Any surprises during that, or any decisions that had to be made during that time?
Probably the biggest change has been the way that banks finance property development. You tend to find when credit squeeze on, the banks are tending to want to fund more short-term projects that have got a quicker cash flow. Most of our projects, which horrifies most people when I talk to them, the approval time from the day we conceptualisation to delivery of product is normally a minimum of 5 years. But you're in a 5-year, sometimes up to 10-year planning process even before you even start sometimes in New South Wales at the current time. But you've got a financing regime which is generally shorter than that. So that's something that I suppose through the GFC. One, obviously, credit's tough, but two, your buyers are not as
they're evaporating.
Yeah, effectively. and traditionally, our market we're really marketing to in regional areas is retirees and semi-retirees. So while their sort of capital base a few years ago dropped with their house values reducing, their super fund took a giant hit with the GFC. Their forward thinking of where they're going to live. Also, too, the thought that their kids wouldn't have a job as well. A lot of people very conservative. So we've had sort of, I suppose, a few things attacking us over the last few years, but now it's turned around. People are selling their homes again. Sales in the retirement village particularly are extremely strong at the moment. We're sitting on 10 or 11 forward orders for houses 500,000 plus in a regional area. So that's good. The approvals we've got coming through now, they're all just starting to filter through. We've sort of come to a bit of a wedge with our approvals. Obviously, a lot of expenditure to get them to the point where we are. But now this year we can see 5 or 6 major approvals coming out, and I suppose turning the tap back on again. So
in that time, we all make decisions that are extraordinarily difficult. Is there one or two of those decisions that stick in your mind and say, "Wow, that was a toughie"?
Not particularly. In the last 12 months, I suppose we've probably had a refocus on strategy, something we started on 3 years ago. We sat there with predominantly most of our senior staff with a blank piece of paper and said, well, what business are we going to be in? So it's probably been a bit more so frustration rather than anything else, not being able to get those plans delivered and to the table sort of as we thought because of the sheer approval times and the ridiculous nature of approvals in New South Wales at the current time. So projects we thought would be a year or 18 months have been 3 and 4 years. So you sort of your best laid plans can sort of not pan out as you thought, but I suppose it's the capacity to be able to keep going when these things aren't occurring and make sure you're still delivering cash flow, because cash flow is king in development business. So.
Okay. The other part of this, you have a life outside Brighton, I would think.
Yes. Yep.
Do you balance that, this life-work balance? Is it real? Can you do it?
I think you can do it. I think really in our business and the property development industry, it's a very cyclical business. And if there's one thing I've learned over the last few years is we are going to change the way we balance our cash flow over the next 5-10 years. As far as if times are tough in sales, we've got other income being generated, and that's something that a plan we set in place 3 years ago. We're still on the with these approval times, we're now in the process of delivering that. But coming back to your question about balancing, yes, I've had very good balance in the past, and I suppose it's about time. I've got young kids as well, and I suppose I've always been a dad who's been there pretty much most nights before they go to bed. So I suppose if you what your measure of balance is, it's different for everyone.
There, yeah.
But certainly with this, the last couple of years has been certainly skewed back to the business and focusing on and really a lot of strategy again. Not a lot of time to relax in the last couple of years, but I think we've passed the worst of the GFC. The market's recovering. There's a lot more confidence in buyers. So I think as that occurs, that allows business owners and our team to sort of say, right, we've done the hard yards over the last couple of years. Let's sort of start to let up a bit and have some more holidays and that sort of thing. But my goal is to effectively work 40 weeks a year and no weekends. So I've set a goal of working 200 days a year, and if I can't do what I want to do in 200 days a year, I'm probably in the wrong industry. So
I admire anyway. You've defined what success looks like, and that's a cool thing.
Yep.
I was about to let you go, but I was just thinking about. I guess the planning process, and you said you started it 3 years ago, and it continues to evolve. Do you have a formula for that? Or are you just back in 2008 or 2007 it would have been then, said, hey, we do need to be planning. So do you formalise it, or is it?
Yes, we do. We've got some general, I suppose, underlying principles of the business. We're in the aged housing business. We're looking at building solutions business, which is an exciting new thing we've got coming up this year. And we're in employment generating developments. We've decided the three things that we're going to focus on back then were
Government
those
loves
things.
the third one.
Well, we thought 3 years ago government would love them all. So anyway,
But they particularly now like the employment.
Yeah, that's it. But one very exciting things this year we're looking at is if there's one thing I do in my lifetime in this industry is I'm going to make building residential homes more efficient. That is without question. We've already headed a long way down that path in relation to some prefabrication of parts of buildings. It's not necessarily building the whole building prefabricated, but we're looking at speed of construction. So that's one of our speed and efficiency.
We might come back to that, but I want to just the planning that would be another session, I think. Your efficiency gains, because I think we're all looking for that now. The planning process, had you been doing it as formally before, or 3 years ago that was the turning point?
Probably we've had some, I suppose, if you big, hairy, audacious goals for a number of years, which is creating a certain amount of stock over a certain period of time. But formalising that and involving the team, as far as the business is a family business, my father and I run and own the business. Bringing in the senior management team, because we built up a very good core of senior managers. One of our very senior people has been with the company for 26 years, longer than myself. So yeah, getting the team involved and I suppose getting other people's ideas who've got a profession, a skill set in that field, architectural planning, etc., and bringing everyone together to create that plan is very important, and that's something we're definitely continuing with.
Excellent. And just this will make you feel so much better, I'm sure. But if there is a common thread that I've picked up in these interviews, it is about the quality. Good people hire good people.
Yes.
And it makes all the difference. Really appreciate your time. Thanks,
Good.
Andrew.
Okay. Thanks, Mark. Thanks a lot.